most people know by now that we recommend waiting until you get your paperwork back from the insurance company before hiring a public adjuster, so you don't have to pay 10% on that initial check. And because your insurance company may do a decent job coming out there the first time, and you may not need a public adjuster. I typically recommend not hiring one unless you know you need one, and most people don't know until they get their paperwork back whether or not they need one if they've been paid fairly on their claim. So we had a potential customer reach out to us after getting paperwork back from Frontline that they were getting about $40,000, and they had a bid from their contractor for almost $75,000. And so they called us seeing if we can help. We looked at their paperwork and realized, yeah, Frontline underpaid a little bit, but the scope of work is fairly similar. Sure, there's a few differences in there that need to be worked out, but for the most part, the scope is relatively similar. So we're providing this client some advice, and I'm going to do a video walking through explaining what that is. And I think that this homeowner should be able to get this worked out with Frontline relatively easy, with a little guidance, and with help from their contractor. So, on that topic, real quick, a contractor cannot act as a public adjuster if they're the contractor on your claim. Public adjusting involves determining the loss in accordance with your policy, and scoping that out and trying to negotiate with the insurance company. A public adjuster cannot be a contractor on the same claim, and vice versa. A contractor cannot be a public adjuster. But I'll do a different video kind of going a little more in depth on that. But a contractor can discuss their pricing and go over their estimate with the insurance company. So here's an example. Now, this is an example of an Xactimate estimate, and this is an actual estimate from Frontline from this customer. The information's been redacted, but this is from a Hurricane Ian claim that was just received. And so in looking at this, I know immediately that Frontline is already agreeing to the roof replacement. So I'm going to go through and explain how you can tell when you get this paperwork back from the insurance company. Are they agreeing that your roof needs to be replaced, or are they trying to say that it only needs to be repaired and you don't need a new roof? So your estimate may look like this, or you may have one, and this is one of ours from a prior claim, that has a diagram of your roof and some quantities here. So in Xactimate, you typically, there's a lot of companies out there, most insurance companies use them, that use aerial imaging and basically create a sketch of the roof, and that's what those measurements are based off of. There's other, and it will import into Xactimate. There's other companies that do the same thing, but they don't provide it where it can be imported into Xactimate. They basically just email them the numbers, and then the adjuster plugs in the numbers like they do here. So if there's no sketch and there's no numbers here, it's probably a good sign that the adjuster had to do just a little more work to manually put in those numbers rather than using the Xactimate measurement. So this is, most people will probably see something like this. So this is a diagram of the roof. It's 2,901.94 square feet is the surface area. And then a square is a 10 foot by 10 foot section, or 100 square feet. So you basically just divide that by 100 and you get 29.02. So now that you know the area of your roof, you go down here and you may see a couple different line items. You may see remove and replace shingles. You may see remove laminated high grade shingle. You may see tear off. You may see tear off, haul, and dispose. Anything that sounds like they're removing it, that's kind of what you want to be on the lookout for. So here, tear off composition shingles, 29.02 squares. If this quantity matches this, your insurance company is agreeing to fully replace your roof. If you see something here that's like 0.33 squares, then they're saying one bundle of shingles to repair your roof, basically. So as long as the removal and replacement, so replacement will be a little bit higher because of waste, but as long as this removal number matches this, then they're agreeing to replace your roof. Even if they've left out line items here that are required to affect that scope of repair and it results in an underpayment, they've agreed your roof needs to be replaced. So let's say you have a claim where you don't have a lot of interior damage, all you need is a new roof, and your insurance company comes out, you get your paperwork back, and these numbers match, they're agreeing to replace your roof, but the amount you've been paid is a lot less. You can just take your estimate, send them into the insurance company, and work with them. You don't need a public adjuster for that. It's typically pretty simple. So in this instance, looking at this, even though I don't know because they don't have the numbers here, I know that 24.48 squares, unless it's an enormous house with a 60 or 70, 80 square roof, 24.48 squares is likely the entire roof without even looking and knowing what the measurements of the roof are. Now, one error with this estimate is water barrier membrane. And this is to seal the roof decking. So this 24.48 square feet, if you see square feet, this quantity is the default measurement for whatever this line item is. And so the tear off is generally measured in squares, but the water barrier membrane is measured in square feet. So if you see here, because they didn't import the quantity into Xactimate and are able to use shortcuts to fill all this out, they're having to plug all this in. Instead of putting 24.48 squares here, it's square feet. It should have been 2,448 square feet. So you basically take this, $21.61, multiply it by 100, and that's what the price should have been. And so now this $13,600 to replace this roof, this estimate has just increased that much more because there was an error in writing this estimate. And again, this is likely an honest mistake, not an intentional underpayment. It is probably just an oversight. So now let's look at this contractor's bid. This is the contractor for the same claim, and this is a local contractor that doesn't use Xactimate. Most contractors don't. And so you see here, remove 26 squares, basically everything involved for replacing the roof, and their price is $15,530. Insurance companies is $13,611, but of course they have this little mistake here. So with the roof, they already have agreed to the roof replacement. There's a pricing discrepancy here. So now this homeowner just needs to send in this estimate into the insurance company and say, hey, here's the price I got from the contractor. Here's what you estimated. Are we good to go with this? Now, if you had something from a contractor that said $40,000 and this says 13, you probably want to take another look at the contractor because it's probably pretty ridiculous. Or the insurance company did a pretty ridiculous job and severely underpaid the roof and left off a lot of these line items here that resulted in an extremely low amount. And so same thing going through here. And again, this isn't perfect. This contractor did not write this estimate based on Frontline's estimate. This contractor wrote up what they saw work needed to be done. So this isn't going to be exact, but it's fairly in line. And so here you have some repairs to the fireplace and the chimney, and then over here you have some framing repairs. And again, not perfectly matching, but about $4,000, $5,800, a little higher, but the scope of work's a little bit different. Same thing here on the back side of the house. You have some on the back elevation. You have some soffit fascia. You have these insulated roof panels. You can see that here. You have 3-inch insulated roofing panels, 11,460, and they're at 12,000. But they also have this pool heater that's not included in here. So There are some differences here. Inside, they talk about removing 842 square feet of carpet from the upstairs. Here, they didn't do that great with a sketch. They only sketched a couple rooms, and um, this is basically what their sketch looks like. So you can see, there's no doorways here. There's no, if you watch my other video, I talked about, the way some adjusters do their sketches. None of these rooms connect, so you don't really see the flow. But if you go in here, you can see the kitchen, living room. See, and I don't even know, based on this frontline estimate, what's first floor, what's second floor. So it's kind of hard to match up, but for the most part, you can see here where they've agreed to replace the laminate flooring in the bedroom. They've agreed that the carpet needs to be removed. But then over here in the contractor's estimate, he's removing carpet from the entire upstairs, removing laminate flooring from the first floor. So his scope of work is a little bit expanded, but with us being able to tell the homeowner, hey, the contractor's putting in for all the carpet on the second floor, all the laminate flooring on the first floor. Frontline is only doing this one room, but if it's continuous throughout the whole house, matching may be an issue. Without getting too technical, there's issues with thresholds and doorways and stuff like that that could prevent that. But generally speaking, if carpet or flooring is continuous, there's no threshold breaking it. Insurance companies owe for that continuous run. And so if that's the case here, then the homeowner can just say, hey, you only paid for carpet in this one room. It runs throughout this entire floor, and that's what my contractor has put in for. So without us needing to come out and spend a lot of time preparing a whole estimate, we can give this homeowner just some guidance in how to communicate with Frontline and ensure that they get this resolved and kind of help them along the way. Now, do we have time to do that for everybody? Unfortunately, no. But, as we can, if you don't need to hire a public adjuster, my point is not everybody does. We try to help out where we can and give advice where we can, and we're happy to do it. But this is a perfect example of knowing if you even need to call one in the first place. My recommendation is if you look at this and the scope is pretty similar, then try to work it out with the insurance company. Don't hire a public adjuster if you absolutely don't have to. But if you know if you know that you have far more extensive damages than what the insurance company has provided, then it may be time for one. And so if you give us a call, we can come out there. We'll take a look at your damages. If you think your damages are far more extensive than what your insurance company has said, we'll tell you, just like I'm doing this video and telling you whether you need to hire a public adjuster or not. We're going to come out there and do the same thing and say, hey, you don't really need us. Here's what you need to do. Or we'll come out there and say, yeah, you're probably going to need some help. Here's the best next steps. So if you have some questions about your claim or whether you need a public adjuster, if you just want us to look at your paperwork and you've gotten some bids from a contractor and you need some advice, the easiest way is if you can scan them in and email it to us so we can take a look at it. You can also message it to us on Facebook. Whatever is easiest, but at least so we can see what we're dealing with. And also, if you want us to come out there and take a look at it and you have that stuff ready, we can give you some advice. So feel free to give us a call, 888-830-BPPA, 888-830-2772. Send us a message on Facebook, and we will be happy to get back with you. Thanks.